they are in the middle of turkey season and getting ready for the rush that will be tomorrow and Wednesday as people pick up all their great food from Tremonti. Today on Sports Shorts Daily, presented by LeBears Casino, we're going to talk about the lackluster performance that was the LSU win over ULM. The final score was 24-7. It may have been one of the most boring atmospheres ever for a November football game in Tiger Stadium. But LSU does keep the dream alive of making a bowl game by playing A&M next week. We'll get into that. By the way, they are a 6-point underdog against the Aggies already to start the week. The New Orleans Saints are 5-5. My bet against Joel Davis is looking pretty good. Over under 9 wins on the season. They've got 7 games left to be played. I can't imagine the Saints winning more than about 3 or 4, 3 probably the rest of the way. They are in trouble. We'll break down the New Orleans Saints. Also, shockingly, Dan Mullen out as the head coach at Florida after their overtime loss to Missouri. Not shocking that he got fired after the loss. Shocking that in year 4 it's not working with Dan Mullen, who was one of the hot coaches in the country when he took that job. LSU would have loved to have had Dan Mullen back in the day. Instead, now he's fired. So things change quickly in college football. We'll get into that and what that means for the LSU job, because clearly with Dan Mullen being out there, it makes the LSU job a little more competitive. Florida's considered a great job as well. So we'll get into that and a whole lot more and a little NFL talk. Don't go anywhere. Sports Shorts, presented by LeBears. We'll roll on here in just a minute after this pop-up message here that we're going to tell you about. The 2022 Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame induction class is out. A lot of folks are going to be heading up to Natchitoches this month for the Christmas lights, the Christmas festival, the first Saturday of the December. A lot going on in Natchitoches for the next month and a half. They have lights all the time. They have fireworks and bands every Saturday in November and December. But they also have the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, and it's open Tuesday through Saturday. Go up there, and if you want to be a part of the 22 induction class, which is next summer, a lot of LSU Tigers in that class. If you're a Raging Cajun fan, Tony Robichaux will be honored. A lot of festivities in 22. Go to lasportshall.com. All you have to do is go to lasportshall.com. Next week, we'll have the Santa Super 7 online auction for 7 days beginning on December 1st. We'll tell you about that next week after the holidays, but go to lasportshall.com and find out all about the 22 class, all the events and everything going on with the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. TK will bring you in right now. LSU's performance on Saturday, an 8 o'clock kickoff, which I officially can't stand 8 o'clock kickoffs when the games are meaningless. Because by the second half, it was a ghost town in Tiger Stadium.
Yeah, well, it was only about 40,000 there when it kicked off. So, and it's just the season can't end quick enough. You've said that. I've said that. Other people have said that. Let's get it over. Saturday night, got to win to go to a bowl game. We'll talk about that in a minute. But, with everything else going on in the world of college football, it can't get over quick enough for LSU.
Couple things that stand out to me about the game on Saturday. First off, I'll go to the end of the game. We always do the post game in the locker room. Gordy Rush, Jacob Hester, and myself, and interview the players and coaches and everything. The atmosphere in the locker room, Tommy, was almost like that of a loss. Like nobody was talking, nobody was enthusiastic. The only time you heard anybody like saying, "Good job, guys," or "Let's go," was Coach O coming in the locker room. I think Eddie Kinnison, the Louisiana Sports Hall of Famer who's involved with the staff, was trying to get the players excited. Hey, we just had a win, guys. It was ho-hum. Nobody really cared. And that's how the atmosphere was in the stadium. That's how the players felt. Now, I do expect that it'll change, for this week against A&M.
I think it should change. You got to get bowl eligible. Here's the thing, Ronnie. Everybody talks about it, okay? Those 12 practices and all. Well, for the underclassmen at LSU, there was no bowl game last year, no bowl game this year. So now that's, 24, 25 practices they didn't have and 2 football games they didn't have. That adds up over time with everybody else. There's only 3 teams right now in the SEC that are not bowl eligible. Only 3, and LSU's one of them. Vanderbilt and Florida being the other 2. And LSU's dead last in the SEC West. I think somehow, some way, they got to win this game to, beat A&M, number one. Two, get to a bowl game and let this new coaching staff jump in here and take over. I think it's important for the long term is, LSU football. If they lose to A&M and there's no bowl game, it's going to be a little deeper hole for the next coaching staff to dig out of.
The thing that stands out about this ULM game, started off slow. LSU's a 29-point favorite. You're expecting LSU to dominate. And then all of a sudden, Tommy, 17-0 lead. LSU has the football in their own territory. And on fourth down, Coach O calls for a fake punt that doesn't work. Ball's intercepted. And then 3 plays later, ULM scores a touchdown and make it 17-7, which, we know that really that score only affected the gamblers more than anything. But what it did to me was it showed that Coach O, you mentioned it, clearly is coaching different now that he is fired, almost reckless to a certain extent. One of the most ridiculous calls ever, up 17-0 in the first half. In your own territory to call a fake punt pass, asking a punter to throw about a 30-yard pass. Just absolutely ridiculous. And against a better team, it may have turned the whole game around.
Well, yeah. Monroe didn't capitalize. Well, they did. They scored, but, it didn't shift the momentum of the game to their sideline. But that's just – it's reckless. Coach O said after the game, "Here's my bad." You don't do that when you're coaching in the SEC and you're coaching at LSU. But he's fired, and we all talked about it. He would coach differently. He would do things differently. But that was just plain stupid.
It was. By the way, this is kind of a theme of coaches all around the country going for it on fourth down, running fakes, and let me address it from this perspective. Lane Kiffin has been running fakes, and Lane Kiffin's been going for it on fourth down, particularly going for it on fourth down a lot this year. But here's the thing, Tommy. If you're going to go for it on fourth down, it's like playing. It's like betting. It's like hitting 16 in blackjack. If you've got a 16 and the dealer's got a 7 or higher, card, which you always assume the undercard's a 10. So if the dealer is sitting there on 17 or more, and you've got 16 at the blackjack table, you either always hit on 16 or you always stay on 16. Where you get in trouble and lose your money even faster is when you go, well, I think I feel it this time. I'm going to hit one time on 16 or I'm going to stay on 16. That's how it is on fourth down when you've got the book. You either have to be like the academy in Little Rock, Arkansas in high school football that always goes for it on fourth down, never punts, or in always onside kicks, right? You can't just pick and choose going for it on fourth down, particularly when it's fourth and long. It's one thing if it's 4th and 1 or something. And for some reason, not only Coach O, but all around the country, we're seeing more and more coaches get loose. Look at last night's NFL game, where the Pittsburgh Steelers and Los Angeles Chargers, where the Chargers went for it on 4th and 1 in their own 35-yard line or whatever late in the game when they were tied. And it almost cost them the game. They gave up a free field goal, basically. There just seems to be a wild and craziness that isn't based in theory. Again, I get the analytics of it, Tommy, but there also has to be a strategy. Like if analytics only work out if you do everything the certain way all the time, and you can't just go, well, I feel it like 4th and 9. I think we're going to get it this time. What? You either always go for it and play the percentages, or you play it straight by the book. Football's been played a certain way for 150 years, 100 years. Like I don't understand the Wild Wild West that's become those decisions now all of a sudden.
Well, again, he's doing that because he's a fired coach. Okay, you can't tell me he would do that if he wasn't a fired coach. I won't believe that. But Ronnie, these days, offensive football, people think they can score in a hurry. I'm gonna go back 20 years when Hal Mumme was coaching at Kentucky. They were playing Florida, and he went for it on 4th down twice, like on his own 30-yard line. And his answer was, you know what? Florida's going to score, so I'd rather them only have to go 30 yards and take less time than I punt the ball. Now they got to go 70 yards. And it's kind of funny, but if you examine it, he was trying to manage the clock as well. But coaches across the country, you're right. They're coaching differently. There's a lot of pressure to win. We got more coaches fired than any year in a long time. The NFL, the same thing. The NFL is the most inconsistent that they've ever been this year. There's just the parities there, and meatandpotatoesusa.com went 5-2 this weekend. That's like miraculous to do that. Okay, so most people are not, even near 55%. We're at 59% at that website right now, and it's just hard to pick, hard to figure. And then, like yesterday, there were a lot of surprises in the NFL. But back to your point, the college game is coached differently because it's played differently.
The college game is just getting crazier and crazier. By the way, thank you, Craig. Sends a little shout out to everybody. Happy Thanksgiving week, gents. Happy Thanksgiving week to everybody out there. Hope you have a good one. Safe travels. Let's get back to the Dan Mullen story for a minute, Tommy. What a strange one, because Dan Mullen was thought of so highly by everybody when he took that job 4 years ago in Florida, almost a return of the favored son, as he was an assistant with Urban Meyer, won a couple national championships, went back there and things started looking like they were moving in the right direction. How quickly things turn. Craig's saying word coming out that Mullen had a poor culture problem going on and a lack of recruiting focus. Didn't have a track record of that at Mississippi State, despite winning. Administration was concerned. The one thing that is surprising about what we're hearing about what's going on at Florida is the lack of recruiting. They've had a lot. They were only ranked 20th in one of the latest polls for recruiting. That should never be the case in Gainesville and the fertile grounds like the state of Florida. UF should always be in the top 10, if not top 5, each and every year. And for them to be so far out, that what that told me was, Tommy, that there was no hope on the horizon. Not only are you having a bad year and things are trending in a bad direction, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, but you don't have any firepower coming in to really fix things in a quick fashion. So that's kind of what led to Florida pulling the trigger and getting rid of Mullen.
Well, you remember when LSU beat Florida? After the game, we didn't know that Orgeron was going to do the separation agreement the next night. And many people commented, maybe Mullen should be the guy on the hot seat because he just lost to LSU. Well, it turns out he was on the hot seat. And, this guy just, he got Mississippi State to number 1 in the country. Think about that. They may not ever be number 1 in the country again. It might not ever be in the top 5 again. But he got that. So that's what, in large part, got him to Florida. He had been at Florida previously. Ronnie, less than 12 months ago, he was in the SEC championship game, and now he's fired, okay? Florida, just, that which is going to happen eventually might as well happen now. They don't, he lost the locker room. He's not recruiting, and he's not recruiting at a time when Miami and Florida State are down programs as well, and so, they just had to make the change. The AD looking around said, hey, this can't work. And they're not worried about the money. They can always find the money. He gets $12 million to walk out the door. Okay, that's the least of their concern. The concern is, can you afford not to fire him? And that's the decision they made.
It's a shame that he's getting fired because they're building some new toys for him over there. They got a brand new football facility and everything that they're building that's going to be open sometime in the spring. So whoever the next coach is going to be in a good spot. A desperate university that wants to get it right this time with some new things. One of those people that's already popped up, Chance Babin is the official PR guy for Billy Napier. He's already jumped in here today. If Florida hires Napier, it could be interesting. LSU better find the right coach. Billy Napier, by the way, took a big step forward on the national scale with, how people feel about him. The Raging Cajuns were a 4-point underdog at Liberty on Saturday. They blew them out 42-14. And again, they're going to host ULM next week, or I don't know if they host them or go there, but they play ULM next week. And then they'll host the Sun Belt Conference Championship game at home at Cajun Field. Probably take on Appalachian State, that's
determined.
Yeah, that's going to be a different game this time around, Tommy, because Appalachian State played its worst game of the year in Lafayette a month plus ago, but they have been on fire ever since. And so I don't know if it would be impressive if the Cajuns could beat them twice in the same year. That said, Napier, man. is going to be a hot candidate, should be a hot candidate, gives him another chance. Which job is, and I know we're close to the sun on this one, Tommy, so we're a little biased, but from a national perspective, there's argument that Florida is a better job than LSU. From a national perspective, you're in the East, you're in a state that has the greatest football talent of all time. You're on the East Coast at the University of Florida. You can recruit the entire East Coast country. You can recruit anywhere in the SEC as well. They're both, at minimum, they're both national recruiting destinations. But I say Florida's got some more advantages than LSU doesn't from a geographical standpoint. You're in the much easier side of the conference. You've only got Georgia to worry about. LSU's going to have Florida, A&M, Oklahoma, or all these others on the come. Look at Ole Miss with it. The East is easier. It's got Kentucky. It's got Vanderbilt. It's got Tennessee. That's been a mess. South Carolina's been a mess. Florida might be the easier job to win, quicker.
Well, no state income tax in Florida either. So when you're making $8, $9, $10 million, that adds up. And when your assistants are making $1.5 million and $2 million, that adds up. So I think you can argue that either LSU or Florida. You can argue that LSU's better. You can argue that Florida's better, and that's what makes Sports Shorts Daily and shows like this go round and round. But Billy Napier is not going to be at Lafayette. By the way, they host Louisiana Monroe. I looked that up real quick. He's not going to be in Lafayette next year. He's going to be somewhere. We just don't know where. Might be LSU. I don't know. I got to float something at you, Ronnie. And I don't like this at all, but it came up on Hold the Rope Radio last night. Hired Dave Aranda as the head coach, Dan Mullen as the offensive coordinator. I don't like this. Mullen's a clown. He's really, if you look at the other stuff, he's not, he doesn't have pictures in bed with naked women, but he's got lots of stuff. But what coach doesn't have stuff?
The thing about it, Tommy, is that, Mullen, I think, took a step back as far as his reputation is concerned at Florida. We saw him as a quarterback whisperer, developer type guy. This offensive guru guy from his days at Florida the first time around, took an underdog Mississippi State team and had some really nice years and some big wins. But when he had all the tools in his toolbox to be able to do that at Florida, he didn't really get it done. And then the death nail is it's proven that he is not a big-time recruiter, and so, I understand that when you're recruiting, it's a team effort, right? LSU's got a Corey Raymond who's a superstar on the defensive side of the ball, and he's doing a lot of the heavy lifting there. And everybody's got pieces, and the coordinators are also involved. But when he had the opportunity, when he had all the momentum, when he was the hot coach in the country, when he had some talent in there, it just went bad in a hurry. Florida's defense is horrific, and I understand that that's not his side of the ball, but they're as bad as they've ever been, record bad, epic bad. The most points ever given up by an FCS opponent, Florida holds that title. The most points they've ever given up in a first half, Florida holds that title. They gave up over 40 points to LSU, and LSU's offense is terrible. And then on the other side of the ball, the offense is just getting worse and worse and worse. They are to the point now where they can't even score against hardly anybody. They scored 70 against FE. Throw that out. Against SEC teams, their offense has been abysmal the last month of the season. So I don't know that I feel the same way about Dan Mullen on offense, Tommy. I almost rather go in a different direction.
Yeah, no, I don't want Dan Mullen to be anywhere near Baton Rouge. A lot of people pointing to the shoe game is when it all started going
absolutely.
south. And, of course, he defended the kid, didn't even take him out of the game. And, that told us right there he wasn't running the locker room. The players were. And then it's gotten worse over time. And I got a good friend. I think you've met him once or twice with the guy with the youth sports group out of Florida, a huge Florida Gator fan. And he just says that the word down there is that the players have zero respect for Mullen. And he told me that many months ago. It's not like he told me that since he got fired.
The thing to me that turned around Dan Mullen's time in Florida, yeah, clearly the throwing of the shoe was the thing. I mean, you don't throw that shoe, LSU doesn't win that game against Florida. And then, it's a total, who knows what happens. It's a totally different vibe. Instead of losing, what, 1, 2, 3 in a row to finish the year, 4 in a row to finish the year, you might things might be different. But beyond that, they sat Kyle Pitts in the game against LSU last year. Kyle Pitts, the all-superstar tight end, of course, that's doing great with the Atlanta Falcons. He was a little nicked up. They decided we can beat LSU without Kyle Pitts. They kept him out to get him 100% healthy for the Florida game. Meanwhile, they kept showing him on the sidelines, chomping at the bit to go in there in street clothes. He didn't play in that game against Florida. Kyle Pitts plays. Florida beats LSU straight up. They don't need the shoe thing to happen to beat LSU. So it started with that decision, and they overlooked LSU. They took LSU for granted. They didn't play their best player, and then Kyle Trask didn't have Pitts to throw to. And yeah, even though they put up some points, they didn't put as much as they could have. And so that decision, then you have enough lack of discipline. You don't on the Shoegate thing. And then the rest is history. It just went downhill in a hurry and hasn't looked back ever since. It's right up there with the turnaround that Orgeron had after winning the national championship, and then the last 2 years have been hot garbage. The same thing happened to Florida, except theirs happened in week 11 of the season last year.
Yeah, no, good point.
Kirk Paul asking, when does LSU make the announcement on the new coach? I don't know. I mean, according to Scott Woodward, he's said, to multiple people, they're not going to be rushed. They're going to go through the process. They're going to, get the best person possible. There's no real timeline. They're not like setting a December 1 deadline or something like that in their mind.
Here's what I think, Ronnie. I think next Monday we're going to get some kind of announcement from Scott Woodward, and it might just be, hey, we're getting close. But he's got, he's kept this thing really close to the vest. There's no leaking information. There's nothing getting out, even from the people who, you would expect might know something. But I just think, Woodward, because the season's going to be over, and if they're not going to a bowl game, then I think we get some kind of announcement. If they're going to a bowl game, they'll just talk about going to a bowl game. And then who's going to coach the team in the bowl? Was it said that Coach O would coach a bowl game? Or is he out?
It was not officially said, but it's led to believe. And I would think, Tommy, why not? I mean, Here's the thing. Whoever you get as the coach of LSU next year is going to be somebody that's coaching a team in the bowl game.
Right. Well,
and, if it's Lincoln Riley, they're going to possibly be in the playoffs. If it's Billy Napier, they're playing for a Sun Belt championship in December. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to have to wait for whoever your coach is.
I think, you're not the SEC championship, Billy Napier's game is on Saturday the 4th. Perhaps that week of the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, maybe you get an announcement, and if whoever it is says, hey, because if Oklahoma is not in the playoff, Riley don't care about coaching a bowl game if he's coming to Baton Rouge. So, we'll just have to let that play out. The famous Ronnie Rant's 13 words, let it play out. But I think we get something from Woodward next Monday to just, even if it's just, hey, look, we're getting pretty close, got a few more things to do. He's got to give something to the fans because everybody, we got 4 or 5 questions about it here on Sports Shorts Daily. And everywhere I go, when they're going to name a new coach? I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea. My last name is not Woodward.
Yeah, I disagree with you, Tommy, that he has to say something. If you don't have anything to say, it's better off saying nothing at all. If LSU fans want a good coach, then you're not going to get a coach anytime soon. I mean, like the good coaches are coaching; they're playing.
Well, here's the other thing. Every day, Scott Wood was talking to recruits, and he can do that according to NCAA rules,
right?
Because Orgeron's been fired. Skip Bertman told me he did that. When he was when Nick Saban left, he was calling the recruits every day. He was the AD. Hey, we're still great. We're going to have great stuff. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. So the recruits want to know, but more importantly, I think you got to tell the fans something. I mean, but he doesn't have to. You're right. If you have nothing to say, you might as well keep being quiet like he's been doing. But I just got a little hunch we'll hear something. If not, I don't think we'll hear the name of the coach, but I think Scott Woodward's going to give everybody a little something to chew on.
The names that are out there that people are talking about the most, the Lincoln Rileys, the Billy Napiers, the Dave Arandas, all of those guys have something in play. Napier's got a championship in play. you're not going to hear a peep out of him till after December the 4th. Dave Aranda may end up being in the Big 12 championship game on the 4th as well, depending on what happens next week and stuff with the Oklahoma State game. Lincoln Riley's playing, in a championship. So whatever it is, it's not going to be till after December 4th. If you're to believe, Jimbo Fisher's name's coming up, Tommy, but like after what he said last Monday on the podium, he was pretty adamant and seemed as if LSU was off the table. And that would be shocking if he walked it back and became a candidate for LSU again. It sounded as if he made his decision. He's sticking where he's at, and why wouldn't he? So if it's not Jimbo, who would just be playing in a regular bowl game after this week, and it's one of those other cats out there, they're playing for a championship, you're going to have to wait to minimally after December 4th. And then imagine if you're one of the teams that if you somehow backdoor into a playoff, if you're Bill O'Brien, I don't know where he's at, but Bill O'Brien's a quiet name, offensive coordinator at Alabama with Bill O'Brien. If he's playing in the playoffs, is he going to, I just don't have any expectation that this thing's going to necessarily happen super quick.
I think the earliest we hear about a coach is Monday the 6th. That's the earliest.
Yeah. I'll take that.
That's the earliest we hear. It could be Monday the 13th. Keep in mind, Wednesday the 15th begins the early signing period. It's not a signing day. It's like a whole week. A lot of people don't realize that. And ideally, you'd like to have somebody then, but if you don't, you don't. Okay. And
do you
I think Scott Woodward's I think he's got this thing 95% figured out.
Do you think the reaction for Coach O on Saturday night against A&M, where LSU is, a 6-point dog? 6-point dog against A&M right now to start the week. Do you think the reaction against A&M is going to be similar by the fans to what they did with Les Miles as far as an ovation for him? Do you think the players are going to potentially carry him off the field?
No. I think it's going to be very different. Yeah, he won a national championship 2 seasons ago, but a lot of things have transpired since, on the field and off the field. I don't think it's going to be real warm and fuzzy. I think everybody's ready for him to be gone.
And think about it. The stuff that happened with Les Miles, all the Oogie stuff that happened with Les Miles happened well after he was gone. So you didn't know about that stuff.
Right.
Les Miles did some creepy things and some bad things, but they were just kept a little more quiet behind closed doors, where O has been a little more outgoing, a little more out front in some of that. Kirk Paul saying Les Miles and O aren't the same. Yeah, in some ways they are, in some ways they aren't. And obviously Les Miles got he had the perception at the time as being the good family man and all that kind of stuff. And he had been here 10 plus years, and there was a little bit of thank you for everything you did over the years, where Coach O's a little more just, in the now. I think gone are the days of those romantic farewells. By the way, the A&M game wasn't a farewell for Coach O. People just, for Les Miles, people just thought it was going to be the farewell. Should have been the farewell, and instead you had to get 4 more games the following year. Do you think that this team will win one for the Gipper kind of thing? Do you think do you think they're going to play inspired or extra hard because of the O thing?
I would hope so. And for the seniors, you want the seniors to go out, not being a team with a losing record. They haven't had a losing record since 1999. There's only a handful of guys on this team even born then. Okay, so I would hope the players come out and play hard. I remember as an underclassman in college that last weekend. Everybody kind of, hey, let's get a win for the seniors. Let's get a win for the guys that can't do this next year like we can do it. So I would hope that happens. I'm just not sure it is. I might have a better feel for it later in the week. I talked to some people about practice and whatnot, but you would hope they'd want to send Coach O out on a high note, even though he gave them an opportunity to play. We all remember the coaches that gave us opportunities, and for your teammates and whatnot, you would think you want to do it, but it could be a long night in Tiger Stadium for LSU. That's my early thought.
AP poll came out yesterday. I'll give you a couple of the Georgia #1, every single first class vote. Ohio State #2, Alabama #3, Cincinnati #4, Notre Dame #5, Michigan 6, and then after that you go Oklahoma State, Ole Miss 8, Baylor 9, Oklahoma 10. Tommy, I can see a scenario. By the way, this college football playoff this year is going to be so bad to watch. Georgia is so far ahead of everybody else. And then the worst part is, I think Cincinnati and Notre Dame are going to get into the top 4.
No, Notre Dame's a double-digit underdog to everybody else in the top 10. It's ridiculous that they're in there. Okay, so it's like super ridiculous. If Notre Dame played Georgia, Georgia would be a 30-point favorite. If they
they're going to play in the first game.
Bama would be a 20-point favorite, against Notre Dame. They're just not there. Now, Cincinnati would be a little closer, but not real close. This is the only team that can beat Georgia is Georgia. I've said that for a couple of weeks now, and I believe that. That's not the same Alabama team we've seen over the years. Now, the College Football Playoff Committee, they're going to put some stuff out tomorrow night. We'll talk about it Wednesday morning on Sports Shorts Daily. They don't want, I don't care what they say, they don't want an Alabama-Georgia national championship game. Right. So they would put Bama at 4, so they'd have to play Georgia. Georgia's going to stay 1. They're not going to lose to Georgia.
Tommy, I don't think Alabama's going to be in the playoffs. I think Alabama is going to lose to Georgia and Atlanta. And if they lose to Georgia and Atlanta,
then they're out. Okay,
they're out.
All right.
Then they're out. And so because you're not going to have back-to-back games. You're not going to have Alabama, Georgia, and then 3 weeks later have it again.
No. If they lose to Georgia, which they're a 3-point underdog in that game, line's already out.
I would take Georgia.
Yeah, I'd take Georgia right now. Yeah, but if they lose, they're out. Okay. So then if Michigan beats Ohio State, now we got some more wrinkles going on. But I don't think they got a shot to beat Ohio State. It's going to be parting the nut in half. But so.
If you take Alabama out of the equation, and let's just say that it's either Michigan or Ohio State. Okay, so one of them is going to be 11-1.
Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Cincinnati's in there.
And then I'm telling you, man.
What if Oklahoma State runs the table?
Okay, I mean, trust me, I would love to see that happen. But I think you can see the committee. First off, everybody loves Notre Dame. I mean, on a national level, the TV loves Notre Dame. It affects ratings and all that, like it or not. And then here's the scenario is that if Notre Dame's only loss is to Cincinnati, and Notre Dame does technically have a tough schedule on paper, and if Notre Dame's loss is only to Cincinnati, that's going to be an easy, hey, they're undefeated. They beat Notre Dame at their place. That's a tough loss for Notre Dame. What's Oklahoma State's worst loss? What's Oklahoma's worst loss? Nobody's going to have as good a loss as Notre Dame, and they're going to play that game, and they're going to put them in, I'm telling you.
And I disagree with you. It will not help TV ratings having Notre Dame in because everybody knows it's a joke, okay, and that they should not be in. Most college football fans, if they speak objectively, know that Notre Dame's got no business in the top 10.
I'm pulling for Jim Harbaugh in Michigan. I want them to.
Oh, you really?
I want them to beat Ohio
I don't like
State.
Ohio State, but I don't like Michigan.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I hope it's like a 12 overtime tie. I mean, I don't care.
No. Well, but here's the thing, Tommy. I would much rather see Ohio State or Michigan in there versus a Notre Dame.
Oh, I agree with that 100%.
So that's
Notre Dame's not there. Notre Dame can't. They're a group of 5 teams. Is what they are.
By the way, also I did a little futures bet a few weeks ago on Michigan as a possibility, and let me see what I did. It wasn't a lot of money. I bet $25 on $50 on Michigan to win the national championship. I'd get $1,500. So I got a little.
Right, you could have bought me lunch with that 50, man. We could have went to the Stadium Club at La Mer, and I could have got that brisket sandwich, and you could have tipped the girl. Come on.
Yeah, and I was having a little fun. Want to take a shot.
Hey, that's why they call it gambling.
I put 20, but it was before the Michigan State game, like a couple weeks before. I figured I'd hedge my bet. One of them might have a Cinderella season. I put $25 on Michigan State to win me $2,000, and that's already been burned. Well, Michigan State, they just got thumped over the weekend. My God.
Hey, I was hot this weekend. At meatandpotatoesusa.com, I had Oklahoma State. I hit that. I had Detroit Lions plus 11.5. I hit that. So I'm on a roll. I'm like butter. I'm on a roll.
Louisiana Lafayette ranked 23rd in the latest AP poll.
Both polls.
Yeah, 23rd, 10-1, well deserved. They need to be. By the way, UT San Antonio undefeated, 11-0, all the way up to 15 in the country. They're a great story. They remind me of Tulane back, in 20-something years ago when they went undefeated.
98 when Tulane went 12-0. Now, UTSA, that'd be a pick'em game with Notre Dame. Can you tell I don't like Notre Dame, Ron?
By the way, this is going to be the second year in a row that UL Lafayette finishes the regular season ranked in the top 25, and LSU's not.
College football, it's stranger than ever, man.
And listen,
wow.
I know that people out there want to dog what Sun Belt Conference schools do, but do you think LSU would be better than 10-1? I don't know. You give LSU UL schedule, which was Texas on the road first game of the season, and look, Texas was different then. Okay, you can't just say, "Oh, LSU beat Texas." Look, Texas and LSU are hot garbage. I mean, you pick them there. I mean, I don't know.
I don't think LSU beat 10-1.
I mean, what's that?
Because you got Coastal. I don't think LSU beat 10-1.
That's what I'm saying.
Coastal Carolina,
it's not that LSU's better than UL.
I mean, App State's good. Coastal Carolina, they've stumbled a little bit lately, but they're very good. No.
You think UL's going to beat ULM better than 24-7?
Absolutely. That's going to be like 55-17, one of those numbers.
Yeah, and I get it. ULM got up for the game and all that, but anyway.
And the game's in Lafayette. I hope the fans fill Cajun Field. I hope they fill it on the 4th against App State. Those players and that coaching staff deserve it.
All right. So Dan Mullen fired, LSU, Florida. Which is the bigger job? That is something that's going to be interesting. It makes LSU's job harder, Tommy, and it's going to make LSU pay more now that the Florida job is open, because whoever the LSU wants to hire is going to be able to leverage themselves against the Florida job. LSU, LSU with a lackluster performance against ULM. I thought Coach O was reckless in going for it on 4th down with the fake punt. I think he's been like, I don't give a crap attitude and reckless ever since he stepped down as the coach. Billy Napier, his status is just going through the roof, Tommy, after the big win against Liberty on the road. And now the Florida job opening up. I'm thinking there's no chance Billy. By the way, do you think Texas makes a move? Year one, do you think Texas makes a move? 6 losses in a row now for the Longhorns.
Very possible that job opens up.
I mean, Sark could be gone.
No, that's very, very possible. Especially because he got the vote of confidence 2 weeks ago. That's usually kaboom. That's usually that's when the foot drops right there. But it'll be a wild and crazy Thanksgiving week. We're full of football. Saints playing Thursday night, and you got college football, like the rivalry week, if you will. And a lot of outcomes are going to have strong impact on the college football playoffs. More importantly, for most people who won't be in the playoff, an impact on who gets hired where.
By the way, we'll talk more Saints on Wednesday, but the Saints look like hot garbage. But let me tell you about bad beats, Tommy. Okay, you know how you have the bad beats on ESPN, Scott Van Pelt. I took one of my bets this week was South Carolina and Auburn. I took Auburn first half line. They were -4. Okay, Auburn was -4 first half line. Now, this is how bad of a gambler I am. I didn't even know that TJ Finley was going to be the starting quarterback and Bo Nix wasn't going to play this week.
He broke his ankle, yeah.
Right. Didn't think about it, whatever. Okay, just wasn't on my mind. I didn't dig into the game. I just looked at the two schools and watched them throughout the year. Thought I had an idea. Knew South Carolina was hot garbage, so I took Auburn -4 in the first half line, and then I realized TJ Finley's playing, and I'm like, I might have gone the other way or left it alone had I known that. So then here's how it plays out, Tommy. I'm going into Tiger Stadium by some of the tailgates. I see Auburn's up 14-0 in the first half. I'm like, got this one. When do I go cash the ticket at LeBear's at the window, right? Got this one. Then I get up to the press box and I look at the score at halftime, and it says Auburn and South Carolina 14-all at halftime. And I go, what happened? I just saw it with, 8 minutes to go in the second quarter. It was 14-0 Auburn. Like, what's going on? This is the Scott Van Pelt bad beat. So South Carolina has the ball on 4th and 3. 4th and 3, down 2 scores on Auburn's 28-yard line with about 6.5 to play before halftime. They decide to go for it instead of kicking a field goal. Not only do they make the first down, they score a touchdown on the play. Okay, it's 14-7. Auburn gets the ball back with 6 minutes to go before halftime. Okay, we're still good. We're a -4. We're still good. Auburn gets the ball, picks up a first down. Down on the next set of downs, it's 4th and 1, Tommy, on their own 35-yard line. And they pull a Coach O and decide to go for it, not run a fake, to go for it. Okay, you're up 14-7. It's 3.5 to go before halftime. You've got the ball on your own 35-yard line. You're facing South Carolina, whose offense is hot garbage. Just punt the ball, Tommy, play defense, make them go the whole way. At worst case scenario, you give up a field goal before halftime, and I get a push out of the deal, okay? Instead, they go for it, but better than that, they don't go for it with a quarterback sneak with the 6'7", 260-pound quarterback in T.J. Finley. No. They throw the ball. Incomplete. So T.J. Finley doesn't get the first down completion. They turn the ball over in the 35. They go short field touchdown a couple minutes later, and it's 14-all at halftime. I don't know what is going on with these coaches and why they are all just throwing out 100 years of football coaching strategy and all just being reckless and going for it wherever on the field, no matter the down and distance. It blows my mind.
Well, I don't think the Georgias and the Ohio States are doing reckless stuff like that, and that's why they're near the top of the polls and why one of them is going to win the national championship. Ronnie, yesterday I had the Eagles -2.5 against the Saints. They're up 33-7. I'm thinking, okay, I think I'm in the rocking chair now. Well, guess what? All of a sudden it's 33-19. Now, it ended up covering and all that. It was good, but I'm thinking, because I'll tell you, the play calling went south for the Eagles, but that was a bad beat on you there with that Auburn thing. And it's why they call it gambling, man. Like my old buddy Dave in Las Vegas used to say, it ain't over till it's absolutely over. He'd seen more bad beats. So he did it for a living for 15 years than all of us put together. So I've learned to take that attitude. Even like yesterday, it was 33-7. I said, this ain't over because they got time on the clock. And, we've seen it too many times in professional football and in college. We've seen it in high school. Of course, we're not betting on high school games, or at least I don't think we are.
Tommy, the last few weeks have not been good to me in the betting. I've gotten a little bit loose. I broke my system that I had put into place the first part of the season, where I'm picking 3 games on Saturday, 3 games on Sunday. Started winning. Started going back to my old ways of picking too many games, having too many bets, and so now I can't do that anymore. I'm going back this week. 3 NFL games, 3 college games. That's it. Even money on all of them. The same amount of bet on all of them. And gone is the Alabama first half line lock. That's out. That's gone. It's not the normal year for Alabama. So I'm gonna go back to the drawing board. But yesterday, who'd have thunk it? I had under 42.5 on the Saints game. Okay, and in the first half, the offense was hand given 3 scores, 21 points just handed to the Saints and the Phillies. The Phillies, the Eagles. The Saints get the ball on the 6-8 yard line for a touchdown. The Eagles get a pick 6 and a pick in their own territory. 21 points, just here you go, take it. Because both offenses, if you made them go the length of the field all day long, would not be able to cover 42.5. But you throw in some gifts from heaven. Next thing you know, I'm a giant loser. And
put it this way: there's going to be no highlight films on how to play quarterback with Jalen Hurts or Trevor Siemian in it. Those 2 guys, Philadelphia will have somebody else next year. Hurts is just not the kind of guy you win a championship with.
But I would take Hurts over Siemian because he's got more ways to win the game versus Trevor Siemian.
I'd agree with that, but
he's clearly. Hurts is clearly a better leader, and he's got the physical attributes with his feet. He's tougher. Trevor Siemian, I made excuses for him the first few weeks. That's just not working. Unfortunately, Taysom Hill was hurt. I mean, the Saints they're just screwed. They're not. I mean, what do you think over under? I mean, how many? They got 7 games left. How many of the 7, Tommy, do they win in your opinion? The Saints
top end 3.
Yeah. I mean, they're staring down 7 and 9, 8 and 9.
Jab Step's going to
7 and 10, 8 and 9.
Yeah, you're going to cash in on Jab Step.
Yeah. All right. He's Tommy. Tell us one last time about Tremonti's Meat and Seafood.
Well, all the turkeys are sold. But you can come get lunch today. Chicken fried steak. They got game processing for everybody that's doing all the hunting. A tremendous selection of wine and whiskey. Load up on that for Thanksgiving week. Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Do check them out. I'll be out at Court Street Cafe on Wednesday for Sports Shorts Daily at about 9 a.m. So looking forward to all that. Don't forget to check out my podcast, Talking Sports with TK. And, of course, meatandpotatoesusa.com is going to have a special offer on Monday Night Football tonight. That'll be posted this afternoon. Check it out.
All right, Tommy, have a good one. We'll talk to you Wednesday morning for more Sports Shorts. I'll be over in Dallas, Texas, visiting my sister and family over there for the holidays. So I'll be in Big D. We'll have a great one, a safe one, and don't get in any fights at the mall, people, on Black Friday. Be peaceful. We'll be back with more Wednesday.